Jaime Munguia moves to 40-0, this time with a 5th round KO over Jimmy Kelly. Now, Munguia is a strange case because this is a guy who at 154 pounds showed a lot of promise. He absolutely destroyed Saddam Ali, who in truth was a blown up 147 pounder who always was a bit chinny. But anyway, Munguia went in there and totally destroyed Saddam Ali. And he looked set for stardom, with Golden Boy. They know how to market and promote Mexican fighters and what have you. And strangely enough, prior to that fight against Saddam Ali, Jaime Munguia was actually put forward as an opponent for Gennady Golovkin. If you guys remember when Canelo tested positive for the juicy beef, Golovkin was looking for a replacement opponent, and one of the people that was put forward was Jaime Munguia. And that seems extraordinary now, right? Given the fact that De La Hoya's coming out saying that Eddie Hearn got Canelo beat, and obviously Hearn is responding by saying that De La Hoya got Canelo beat by Mayweather years ago when Canelo was just a pup. Well, what would have happened if De La Hoya put Munguia in with Triple G the way he apparently wanted to several years ago? Would that have been the end for Munguia right there and then? Now, again, Munguia looked set for stardom after beating Saddam Ali in impressive fashion, but his career never got going after that. He's been pretty much in this holding position ever since, fighting second and third tier opposition. If we look at his record here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the Saddam Ali fight was there back in 2018. He then fought Liam Smith, which in retrospect is one of his best wins, if not his very best win, which was a UD over Liam Smith down in the 6th. He then fights this miscellaneous cast of characters here. Look, Brandon Cook, who? Takeshi Inoue in 2019. That was the most muscular Japanese man I think I've ever seen in my life. A crazy fighter, extremely crude, but he was able to give Munguia plenty of problems in that fight. It was quite a fun fight. Entertaining, hilarious actually. So yeah, there was the Inoue fight, which was a rough one for him. The Dennis Hogan fight, which he only just scraped through on a majority decision. Again, Dennis Hogan. Munguia's struggling with guys like this. Then he fought Patrick Olotti again. Who? Then fights Gary O'Sullivan. I mean, we know who Gary O'Sullivan is, but again, why is Munguia fighting guys like this? And this is in 2020, right? Again, that fight goes 11 rounds against Spike O'Sullivan. Terreno Johnson, okay, we know who he is. Munguia manages to take him out in 6. Camille Zerameta, Golovkin did fight him. Munguia takes him out in 6. But again, these are like B and C level fighters. And Munguia's supposed to be making some type of title run at 160 pounds at this stage, right? This is where he stepped up. The Spike O'Sullivan fight was his first fight at 160. And so now he's supposedly trying to make a run, right? Because he was WBO champion at 154. Then at 160, he's trying to make a title run. Nothing is happening. He's fighting this miscellaneous cast of characters. Gabe Rosado, of course, the veteran. And that was a tough fight again for Munguia. Well, to be fair, Rosado was coming off a good win against that Uzbek prospect. I forget his name. They call him the Bully. That was a great knockout by Gabe Rosado. He knocked that guy into another universe. Probably the best punch I've ever seen Gabe Rosado land. So, give credit to Munguia for that because of the fact that Rosado was coming off a good upset win. But nonetheless, Rosado isn't exactly elite, is he? So, gets through the Rosado. And that was another tough fight for Jaime Munguia. Then he fights Demetrius Ballard. Again, who are these people that Munguia's fighting? And so that was his entire run at 160 pounds, fighting a miscellaneous cast of characters. He then steps up to a catch weight of 165 pounds, I guess it would have been, for this fight against Jimmy Kelly. And similar to his fights at 160, Jimmy Kelly, many of his fights at 160, Jimmy Kelly was giving Jaime Munguia plenty of problems, even though Munguia managed to get him out of there in the end, in the 5th round. Kelly was giving him plenty of problems. He looked like the sharper boxer in there. He looked to have the better reflexes. He took advantage of lapses in Munguia's concentration to tee off on him. Lucky for Munguia that, well, Munguia seems to have a good chin, but also Kelly isn't a puncher, because Munguia could have found himself in some trouble if Kelly had been a puncher. So, yeah, anyway, Munguia got the job done at the end of the day in the 5th, but he didn't look good in doing so. I mean, you look at the scorecards here. Two of them have Munguia ahead. One of them had it even, 38-38. I'm going to say that a lot of neutral observers would have had Jimmy Kelly up on the scorecards going into the 5th round. Forget about what the official scorecards say. I'm talking about you guys out there. How many of you actually had Jaime Munguia ahead, and how many of you had Jimmy Kelly ahead? I'm going to say the majority of neutrals had Jimmy Kelly ahead. So against an opponent like this, again, an obscure fighter, Munguia's fought plenty of obscure fighters, he's having all this trouble at 165 pounds. How much more trouble will he have at a full 168? Because that looks like where Munguia is headed. Or maybe he will take stock, him and his trainer, I believe he's trained by Eric Morales, they'll take stock and say, maybe 168 is a bridge too far at this stage. Let's continue at 160 and see if we can get one of the fights. Andrade's WBO belt might be up for grabs relatively soon. You got, a bunch of other people there. So perhaps they'll have a change of heart, a change of mind, and stay at 160. I think it's probably best if they do, to be honest with you, because Munguia is struggling with nondescript guys at middleweight. It's only going to get worse if he steps up to 168, I would have thought. Now, there is a fight that I wouldn't mind seeing for Munguia at 168, but it isn't involving one of the top guys, and it's just purely for entertainment purposes. I would like to see Jaime Munguia fight Berlanga, a New York-based Puerto Rican American super middleweight prospect who has had a lot of issues in his career so far. Right? He's been decked heavily. He hasn't looked very good. His defense looks poor. He won his fight last night. I haven't actually seen the fight. I know the result, but I haven't seen the fight. I understand there's some controversy about that fight. But yeah, I like that fight at 168 for Munguia, because struggling with nondescript guys at 160, how about he fights someone who doesn't appear to be that good, but he does have a profile at 168. I think that would be a good one. Whether Berlanga's people would be interested, I'm not sure. But I think that Munguia's people, if they want to stay at 168, they should make that fight a priority, because I think it's a fun fight. I think it's very winnable for Munguia, and I think it would help raise his profile in the 168-pound division tremendously. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Munguia's performance against Kelly, and where you think he should go in his career from this point on. Do you think he should stay at 160? Do you think he should move up to 168?